What is one of the most dangerous things in tech? Moving fast in the wrong direction. Most teams don't have an execution problem, they have a direction problem. They're shipping fast, but not always toward what matters. That's what this talk is about, how we align engineering with the outcomes the business actually cares about. My name is Yorgos and I've spent 20 years building software and products, helping scale teams, ship platforms and bridge that messy gap between business goals and what gets built. Today, I'm going to share the frameworks, rituals, and mindsets that helps teams do that on purpose and not just by accident. Let's start by visualizing what it looks like when that alignment isn't there. This company I work for had all the right ingredients: a strategy deck, clear OKRs, weekly leadership and stakeholder meetings, planning sessions, etc. On paper, alignment looks solid, but in reality, executives thought priorities were clear and middle managers interpret them differently. Delivery teams kept shifting focus based on these mixed signals. No one was ignoring the plan, they just didn't share the same understanding of it. And that's the real cost of misalignment. Not chaos, just quiet, compounding drift. Let's talk about how to fix that. Here's what we're going to cover today. You will live with practical tools to help align engineering work with real business outcomes, not just OKRs or roadmaps, but why things actually matter. We'll walk through frameworks that help turn vague business goals into clear, measurable priorities your teams can act on. We'll look at rituals that build trust, so tech isn't just seen as a delivery team or a cost center, but as a strategic partner at the table. And I'll share a few real stories from the front line, from helping teams do this at different stages and scales. This talk is for leaders who want to turn engineering into a business enabler and driver. Whether you're a CTO, VP or head of engineering, staff plus, or leading a team, you've probably felt this gap. Engineering works hard, product has ideas, but the business still doesn't feel the impact. And when that happens, you lose trust, you lose momentum, and sometimes you lose the market. Misalignment rarely announces itself. It leaks into how we operate, how decisions are made, and how we collaborate. In engineering, you get features that ship but don't get used, endless rework, or the feeling that technical depth never gets addressed. In product, the roadmap keeps shifting. Teams run fast but tactically. Discovery and delivery often live in different worlds. On the business side, engineering becomes a black box. Decisions stall. Velocity becomes a proxy for progress even when outcomes aren't clear. And at a cultural level, meetings become about resharing context, stand-ups become status reports, teams speak different languages, UX, architecture, strategy, and no one's quite aligned on what success looks like. Individually, these are friction. Together, they are signals of systemic misalignment. Misalignment rarely stems from poor intentions or lack of content. It starts with unspoken assumptions, and when those go unchallenged, they quietly shape how work gets done. Here are six common roots I've experienced. Lack of shared language. If leaders and teams aren't aligned on basic terms like done, urgent, value, communication breaks down. You can't scale clarity without shared definitions. Limited feedback loops. Without fast, consistent feedback across all layers of the org, small gaps grow into wide disconnects. By the time issues surface, fixing them costs exponentially more. Context flow breakdown. Teams perform best when they try and they understand why, not just the what. If context gets lost between strategy and execution, priorities become reactive and fragmented. Siloed decision making. Decisions made in isolation lead to local optimizations that often hurt the bigger picture. Alignment requires visibility across functions and shared decision frameworks. Lack of clear accountability. When ownership is vague, momentum slows. Teams hesitate, overlap, or miss key responsibilities. Clarity on who owns what is critical for execution at scale. Conflicting definitions of success. If one team defines success as speed and another as stability, you create tension, not traction. Even high-performing teams can push against each other without a shared view of what good looks like. And the warning sign I always watch for, when strategy lives in slides but never shows up in sprint planning. That's when you've lost the connection between vision and execution. Most of what we call alignment problems are really visibility problems. People can't act on what they can't see. So we invent process, meetings, reviews, rituals. And those are necessary, but without clarity, all that process becomes overhead instead of momentum. Clarity isn't just a vision statement, it's a working system. It's knowing that when you show up to sprint planning, the strategy is already in the room. You don't need no process, you need the right process, the kind that carries strategy forward, not just moving tickets around. The alignment bridge is about how we connect business goals to engineering execution and the importance of maintaining strong connections between these two levels. Business goals like market growth, revenue targets, and customer acquisition metrics need to be translated into product strategy and engineering work. The bridges that keeps us aligned are things like OKR check-ins, strategy reviews, and cross-functional rituals. These create alignment and secure execution stays on track. When those bridges are broken, due to miscontext, unclear ownership, or shifting priorities, it causes drift and teams end up building the wrong thing or the right thing too late. The key is maintaining strong connections so engineering's day-to-day work directly support real business outcomes. And let's be honest, alignment often gets treated like a one-off strategy doc or a kick-off deck. But real alignment is not a moment, it's a system. So I use 3 layers of frameworks to make it stick. Let's call it the alignment trinity. First, direction and intent, the why and where we're going or we intend to go. Then we have planning for impact, what we'll do next, in what order and when. And finally, alignment in motion, how we get there or how we keep it going. Let's break them down. If your leadership team isn't aligned on purpose, everything else becomes noise. That's why we start with a strategy one-pager. No jargon, no 30-page doc, just a single clear view of what we're trying to achieve, where are we focusing, and how we'll know it's working. Then we define a North Star metric, a single number that everyone can get behind. It creates focus and helps people prioritize independently. And we translate that into strategic OKRs, high-level goals that guide quarterly execution and keep everyone pulling in the same direction. Example, at one company we had strategy decks floating around. No one could say what really mattered this quarter. We replaced it with 1 slide strategy brief, 3 focus areas, 1 North Star, and 5 lines of context. That clarity led to better product decisions, tighter OKRs, and far fewer alignment meetings. When direction is clear, decisions are easy. So if you got clarity at the top, now what? How do we make trade-offs that actually reflect that direction? We start with outcome-oriented roadmaps, no more feature factory. We define the outcome first, the why, before debating the what. That shift alone changes the entire roadmap conversation from outputs to outcomes. Then we use 5Q, 5 quarters, planning cycle to create a rhythm. It's flexible, time-bound, and stops long-term goals from turning into endless backlogs. You always know what matters this quarter and what can wait for later quarters. And finally, we translate it all into tactical OKRs, focus, team-level goals that tie directly to business impact, not just task completion and ticking boxes. And that's how we make prioritization real, grounded in outcomes, not opinions, not outputs. So, we've set the direction, we've made the plan. How do we make sure that we stay aligned when the real work begins? This is where most teams start drifting, not because they don't care, but because alignment slowly leaks away. Through silence, misaligned priorities, and the lack of feedback loops. And that's why this third layer is all about rhythm, simple tools and rituals that keeps us moving together. GIST is the first one, from idea to execution. Let's start with it. A framework by Itamar Gilad. It takes a big fuzzy goal and breaks it into ideas, steps, and tasks. It gives teams a way to test, adapt, and execute without getting bogged down in rigid plans. Strategy becomes real when it's this tangible. Next, scorecards. We're not talking about dashboards filled with 20 KPIs, Just 4 to 6 metrics, few metrics that the team updates weekly. Enough to know we're on track and to start a conversation if we're not. Visibility creates alignment. And finally, OKR check-ins. This is where strategy stays alive. It's not about ceremony, it's about the regular checkpoints that help teams reconnect to purpose, catch drift early, and make better decisions. And like a friend of mine says, if you're not checking in, you're checking out. Now let's pause and talk about refactoring and rewrites. Most rebuilds start with a dev pain point, like technical debt or product debt. That's real, but if we stop the conversation there, it sounds like a cost. This slide is what we actually said to the exec team. We're not just refactoring or rewriting to make it look better or to clean things up. We're creating a platform that reduces build costs and lead time to market, unlocks innovation, and allows for global expansion. And that's how you translate engineering needs into strategic outcomes. Reframing engineering work. This is a simple but powerful prompt I've used in product reviews and sprint planning. It forces clarity. It shifts the language from internal pain to external value, and it shows you've thought about the outcome, not just the input. And this is how we stop technical debt from sounding like whining and start connecting it back to strategy. Frameworks give you structure, but rituals are where alignment becomes a reality. Strategy product check-ins are the proactive pause. Are we solving the right problem or just staying busy? Done well, they spot misalignment early. Demo days shift the conversation from what did we build to what value did we create. They also invite feedback when it still matters. Outcome-driven OKRs keeps us focused on results, not activity, not outputs. They let teams adjust based on what's actually working and not what was planned 6 or more weeks ago. 5 key roadmaps hold a zoomed-out view. They protect teams from drifting too tactical and losing sight of why we're building. Roadmap audits clean the junk drawer. They force us to ask, if we weren't already doing this, will we still start it today? When these rituals happen regularly, alignment stops being a meeting and becomes a habit. I remember a friend and backend engineer who stopped a sprint at some point and asked, why are we even solving this? What problem are we solving? What can we do instead that adds more value? That question saved us 2 weeks of work and realigned the entire roadmap. These shifts don't just improve outcomes, they change culture. And this is how engineering grows from execution to strategic thinking. Mindset is modeled and reinforced. Shipping is good, but impact is better. Features don't matter if no one uses them. Tickets don't matter if they don't solve a problem. Even how we measure needs to shift. We're not here to increase story points, we're here to increase customer value. And this isn't just a leadership shift, it's a cultural one. Your teams will still write tickets and track delivery, but what they care about will change. And that's how alignment shows up. And we often speak in metrics, but metrics do need a meaning. So tell stories, translate tech effort into business relevance. This isn't hypothetical, this is a real story again. One of our engineers presented platform KPIs with pride, 99.99% uptime, 20 deploys, but the business didn't flinch. So we reframed it and we said, this ability helped us close 2 enterprise deals. The reaction changed, we now had their attention, and the connection was now visible. If you want engineering to feel strategic, start with how you talk about what you do. And the best time to act was yesterday. The second best time is now, but tomorrow is still yours. Here are 3 small moves you can make next and why they matter. Map your roadmap to a business outcome. I work with a team that had dozens of roadmap items, but when we asked what business goal each one supported, for half the initiatives we had no clear answer. That one conversation reshaped 2 quarters of delivery. Ask, what problem does this solve? Another team added the single question to every planning doc. Within a month, it became part of the culture, a habit that changed how they planned and built. Reframe one initiative in impact terms. One team rewarded the technical debt project to highlight the customer impact. That story helped unlock funding and reposition engineering as a business enabler. Small moves, but if you make them tomorrow, you're already shifting how your team thinks, plans, plans, and earns trust. And alignment doesn't start with a reorg, it starts with the questions we ask. Whether you're leading strategy or writing the next ticket, you can nudge your organization towards clarity. These prompts aren't tasks, they're conversation starters. If you're a CTO or a senior leader, ask, what are we really optimizing for? Are your roadmap investments directly tied to business outcomes, or are we just keeping everyone busy? If you're in discovery, bring your engineers in early. Ask them, what would you challenge about this problem? You'll settle for better questions that lead to better solutions. If you lead a team, in your next retro, ask, what did we ship that changed the customer outcome? It's a simple question, but it changes how the team sees the work. Change starts with curiosity, and these are a few questions that shift cultures. Now, let's bring it full circle, everyone. We started with this idea. Moving fast in the wrong direction is one of the most dangerous things in tech. Alignment is what keeps speed and direction working together. And it's not a one-off. It's not a tool. It's not a slide deck. It's a discipline, a set of shared behaviors, a leadership mindset, and a team habit. When alignment becomes part of how we think, plan, and deliver, engineering doesn't just shape features, it shapes strategy. And that's how you move fast in the right direction and earn the trust to lead and a seat on the table. Thank you everyone for your time. I hope you find my thoughts and ideas useful. Happy to continue the discussion with anyone interested. Let's connect on LinkedIn with a QR code at the bottom right. Thank you.